Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I woke up to the LaMelo Ball news. He got traded. Charlotte's trading star guard LaMelo Ball and Josh Green to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Naz Reid, a 2033 unprotected first-round pick, 3 first-round pick swaps from 28, 29, and 30, and 3 second-round picks from 29, 32, and 33. Melo's going to be with the Timberwolves, and then from there, Kobe White signed a deal. I don't have that information in front of me right now. Let me see. But he signed a 3-year deal with the Charlotte Hornets. I thought it was a decent chance he would be gone because I didn't assume that they were moving Melo. I knew they had just drafted Christian Anderson, and I didn't think that they were going to be keeping Christian Anderson, Melo, and Kobe White. So I figured with him being a free agent, he'd be gone. But that is not how this ultimately played out. They did move LaMelo Ball. Naz Reid is now in Charlotte, along with a bunch of picks. From what I understand, the Charlotte Hornets now have 8 tradable picks, 11 total first rounders, 8 of them tradable, so they could do something else. Minnesota moved Julius Randle. They moved Naz Reid, and they bring in LaMelo Ball. And now, of course, they drafted last night in the second round Isaiah Evans, who's a shooter. So they morphed their entire team into something entirely different. I heard they were shopping Rudy Gobert for Derek White. There's still a world where they can move Rudy Gobert. It's chaos really on both sides, honestly. Both the Charlotte Hornets and the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing things that really shake things up a lot. Minnesota went from having a team with waves of bigs to now not really having a single solid power forward on the team. Of course, they still have Joanne Berenjay, but he's a center, not really a power forward. They haven't used him, so he's kind of a question mark of what type of player they have there. Although he's pretty talented as a shot blocker, we just don't know really if he's ready to go yet. I guess Jaden McDaniels going to have to play the 4. But they went from having Naz Reid, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert to just now Joanne Berenjay, Rudy Gobert as their bigs, man. Like, what are we doing in Minnesota? You're putting a lot of pressure on Rudy Gobert, man. At this age, if you're going to keep him, he doesn't have adequate backups, adequate surrounding bigs that can help him with some of the bigger decisions, bigger assignments, rather. You look at what OKC just did. You look at what San Antonio just did, and Minnesota's trying to get smaller. I'm so confused at what Minnesota's trying to do as a win-now basketball team. I think this was, from what I understand, LaMelo and Ant-Man get along. Like they talk off the court. So maybe this was like, hey, man, I want to play with you. Okay. And then you go to Minnesota and be like, hey, this is something that'll make me want to stick around. I think that's kind of what this is as it pertains to Minnesota. I know they were looking for a point guard. Isaiah Evans, I was very critical of his draft pick yesterday because I didn't see the point guard in place. Now they have legitimized taking a catch-and-shoot movement shooter by bringing in a gifted passer. Problem is with LaMelo is he passes when he wants to. He's gifted at it. It don't mean he's going to be doing it very much. His shot selection is probably the worst in the NBA. The boy just launches threes at random. That's going to take some adjustment to get used to if you're Minnesota. The coach that they have, you're talking about pulling your hair out. He don't have a whole lot of patience for young players. That's the problem I have with him. So now you're bringing a guy in there that's just all over the place. You got to deal with Ant-Man's personality. It's going to get a little interesting. I'd imagine Terrence Shannon may have to play some 4. I like him at the 3, but he's big enough to play the 4 at times, so he's probably going to have a bigger role in theory. I guess that's the answer at power forward. But when you talk about teams getting big, Minnesota did not get bigger. They brought in Josh Green, a role-playing swing forward. He's just okay. You know what I mean? He's not somebody I would have targeted on that team for the Hornets. I heard somebody say they probably should have went after Grant Williams. I couldn't agree more. Like, definitely. Just so that they can solidify their 4th spot. So Melo and Ant-Man are going to be fun to watch both on and off the court after the games when they sit down on the podium next to one another. You don't know what's going to fly out of either one of their mouths, especially when they have each other to play off of. It's going to be wild personality stuff. Isaiah Evans also has a pretty big personality as well. So you're talking about putting together some people that's going to like. And then the Rudy Gobert factor and how his personality goes, some of the stuff that he's done in the past. That's a wild locker room they're putting together in Minnesota, man. Wild. And I don't know they're going to be winning very much, so that can get ugly. That's my concern. I think Minnesota goes from being a contender to a team that really cannot contend in the Western Conference right now. On paper, Melo and Ant-Man can be built around, but they need certain things around them. In Minnesota, I don't know if they really have. When you talk about Rudy Gobert, yeah, he's a heck of a rim protector, but like, he's a little older now. You know what I mean? And it's getting to a point where I don't know how much of what he is going to show up enough to make up for the defensive liability that is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is a defensive liability. He's a fantastic offensive player, but he don't be playing no defense like that. So it's I don't think Minnesota got better at all. I really don't. I think they're going to be more fun to watch and spot to some people's eyes. But you go from having a very strong front court to a very thin front court. Ant-Man having the ball in his hands to now LaMelo going to take about 30 shots on certain nights. You think he's going to take a backseat to Ant-Man's shot diet? That's never going to happen. LaMelo Ball is not wired at all to take anything less than 25 shots. So how the hell is this going to work? Like, this is going to be a disaster, in my opinion. Minnesota has done some wild stuff thinking they're going to keep Ant-Man doing this. You're going to lose Ant-Man doing this. This ain't good. This ain't good. They turned themselves into a three-point shooting team. They don't have the coach for this. He is not wired for this. Not what you're putting together, man. He's not wired for. I'm telling y'all, that coach is not wired for this. So I think this is gonna crash and burn. This is a failure, man. They got smaller when everybody else around them is getting bigger. They got more immature. You know, Melo is a wild card, man. He's a wild card, and he's going through something off the court right now with his parents and the circumstances that's going on with that. So I know this is not just random goodness that the Minnesota is bringing to them, dude. This is a mess that they created for themselves. And Ant-Man may be happy, but it's going to be, you know, Alex Rodriguez and their front office, that coaching staff, they're going to start having some gray hairs when they see what LaMelo Ball actually be doing out there on that basketball floor. He ain't used to playing winning ball, man. He going to launch whatever the hell he want. And y'all used to being in the Western Conference Finals every year. He ain't. He used to losing 50 games a year, and he played like it too. So I'm not a fan of this. I think this is terrible. I think it's terrible. I think they're going to be three-point shooting eccentric. I think there's an imbalance on the roster. You're putting a lot of pressure on their defenders to make up for new people's mistakes. You know, Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert are going to have to play more defense and take on more heavier assignments than ever before, including Ant-Man as well. He's going to take on more assignments because LaMelo don't defend. And you moved on from some of the heavier people that ultimately absorbed a lot of that contact. I would have never suggested that they move Naz Reid and Julius Randle at the same time. I would have never suggested that. When you know damn well your coach ain't played Joanne Berenger at all in his rookie season. You didn't prep him at all for the role that you have him ready for, that he's going to have to be ready for this upcoming season. It's a nightmare. I think this is going to crash and burn. I don't like this at all for the Timberwolves. For the Hornets, you know, we knew this was coming as it pertains to them changing the culture. You could see what they were trying to do with just shifting away from the jailbird black dude culture into the, you know, something that'd be more fitting for the Bible Belt, to be honest with you. So they're kind of bringing in more stable, calmer presence, you know, vibes and stuff like that. And I think the team, like I said, they have about as many assets as anybody. You talk about the teams that are asset rich in this league, OKC, Utah. You got to add the Hornets to that because they got more picks than anybody right now. So they can build, if they do it correctly, they can build something that can be very special in the Eastern Conference going forward. And that's what you want to do if you're a small market team. You don't want to trust free agency to bail you out of your problems. You got to do it through the draft, or you got to do it through trade, and they have the ability to do both at this point. So, you know, I think it's going to be tough on the fans losing LaMelo Ball there. He's a culture setter. As I was listening to an analyst that I often listen to, he was saying that he's the engine to their offense. He draws a lot of attention away from other people, and now that attention is going to be placed on those guys. And the problem that I have with what the Hornets have just in the short term is, yes, LaMelo Ball was fragile and he was often hurt, which is also something Minnesota needs to consider for sure. But what now you have going on is you're more relying on Brandon Miller, who's also been shown to be made of glass. So you're putting a lot of pressure on Knipple. A lot of pressure on the rookie Steinbach. A lot of pressure on the on Kobe White. A lot of pressure on Christian Anderson if they decide to play him. So it's a little more pressure in the sense that Kobe White is an all-star level player in my opinion, but he ain't LaMelo Ball. That's an entirely different level. So I think some of the shot making could still be there, but just some of the star power, just the amount of what LaMelo did and how he did it, I think they're going to miss in Charlotte a little more than they're expecting to. I think they're going to miss it a little more than they expected to. I would say the Charlotte won the trade, man. I think Minnesota just did some Hail Mary full of grace. Let's get Ant-Man a wild brother to run with. You know what I mean? Just somebody wild like him so that they can have fun all year. That ain't going to equal to winning, and they're not going to be having fun when they lose. So I think Minnesota they messed up. They had a winning situation. They could have tweaked it a little bit. All they really needed to do was bring a point guard to their situation that was competent enough to run the offense, man, and big enough to be comparable with everybody else. They had the size to compete. They had the experience, the continuity to compete. The pieces all fit. And they blew it all up, and they created some hodgepodge of clown characters basically around Anthony Edwards, and it's bad. It's bad on paper. It's bad. Now, like I said, there is a world where you can make Ant-Man and LaMelo, two of the most talented offensive players in the NBA, work. With those two assets, you bring them certain things, it could work. Jaden McDaniels is the right piece. I would keep those three. I'm probably moving Rudy Gobert for something different. Probably something that fits a little bit more their age range, some of their timeline. I don't know what that piece would be. But I'm probably going to move, they had him. Walker Kessler was, when they traded for Rudy Gobert, they had Walker Kessler. That's kind of who I have in mind. Bring somebody they age to their situation that does what Rudy does, that's expected to last longer than Rudy, because Rudy ain't going to be doing it this level for much longer. He's not. And he needs to be in a win now situation. And even though LaMelo and Ant-Man are stars, like I said, I don't think this works. Not with the shot diet of LaMelo Ball eating away at the possession control of Anthony Edwards. No. This is a mistake. And look, it's going to be fun to watch. When LaMelo and Ant-Man get in their bag, they're going to beat people a lot. But when it comes to the playoffs, hell no. This is bad for the playoffs. Once you got to go up against San Antonio, once you got to go up against Oklahoma, y'all ain't going to win a game against either one of those teams with this crap you put together. Not at all. So I'm high on LaMelo Ball as a superstar. I just don't want him to be taking away shots. I want him in a very specific situation, and I thought he was kind of in that. Boston's kind of a situation like that where you can just launch threes all day long. Systems like that. Not necessarily where you have this ball-dominant superstar that, in order to get the most out of the team, you put the ball in his hands as much as possible. Now you got LaMelo on the floor, who creates a lot of space for him if he's hitting shots. High-level talent as well, but it's more of a regular season thing going on. This is almost what I have to say about my Lakers in a different way. Austin and Luka thing, it's like a regular season stuff. You're going to kill it in the regular season. When the playoffs come around, you're going to be schemed against and knocked off. It's the same. Minnesota's like us, in a way. The Lakers and Minnesota are two peas in a pod right now. Not enough size, fantastic backcourt that doesn't defend. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So that's what I want to say. They can make it work, but they're going to have to shift some stuff around. I don't know they have the assets to do that. In fact, I believe they don't. So, yeah, Charlotte gets the win because they continue to pile on picks. That's really what it's about. Forget what's on the floor necessarily. Naz Reid is a fantastic shooter. He's going to fit right in with that shooting situation. Now, they have front court depth that's going to make them very difficult to deal with in the Eastern Conference when you add Anna Steinbach, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Naz Reid, and Moussa Diabaté together. Now you got a real nice front court. So they needed positional size. They definitely got that. But we're gonna have to see how the players that they have react to the absence of LaMelo Ball drawing so much attention defensively. I think they're a much better defensive team than they were, and they can shift their offense to kind of shoot less threes in a way and let Hannes Steinbach get his 20 and 10, which I think is what it's going to be. And look out for that rookie, man. They got some really good rookies this year. They drafted well last year, and they drafted well this year. Bringing in Christian Anderson and Hannah Steinbach and allowing them opportunities to actually play this season like they did Con Knipple, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem. With Kobe White out there, it's gonna be a good team. Hornets have not. I don't know that they got better, but they definitely didn't get worse, and they got richer. And so for them, this is an A+ in my opinion. It's a great trade. Good time to move on from LaMelo Ball, even though the fans ain't gonna love it. It's a good time to move on from him. You don't want to have issues with him trying to figure out if you want to re-sign him some massive contract when you're not sold. You know what I mean? When it's clear what your idea of success is to pile on draft picks. It's good to try to capture that for him. So they got a lot of swaps in this situation. They pulled Nas Reed out of the situation. It will fit right in. I love this for the Hornets in the overall grand scheme of things. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shell shock. Fans going to be a little upset, but they're going to win games next year in the Eastern Conference for sure. So that's my take on it. Timberwolves, man, this is crazy. Y'all absolutely nuts. Doing dumb stuff, honestly, just blowing up a contender so that you can keep a guy who's immature running with somebody who's just like, this is stupid, honestly. So that's my take on that, man. I look forward to see what the Timberwolves do. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, man. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. LaMelo is always fun to watch. That is not even going to be a conversation, but I don't think the Western Conference is going to have a problem with the Timberwolves anymore. You can cross them out as a contender. That's over with. They ain't contending nothing. But what they are going to do is win some really nice games in the regular season. They're going to be nights where they score 150 points because Melo and Ant-Man are just unstoppable. It's going to be wonderful in the regular season. But when it's time to get schemed against, when you're going up against the real Western Conference squads, they out of here at 4, 5 at the best. They took some steps backwards, and they did it on purpose. And they did it to themselves, man. They did it to themselves. And you move on from Julius Randle because you're tired of his shot selection and stuff like that, and you bring yourself LaMelo. That's just crazy. Woo! Anyway, yeah, that's nut job stuff there. So yeah, that's what I wanted to report on. Golden State still signing old people, man. Al Horford signed a 2-year deal, $14 million, stay with the Warriors. Mike Dunleavy's the worst in basketball. He's the worst. He is the very worst in basketball. No one is even close to as bad as Mike Dunleavy at GM. He's the bottom of the barrel, y'all. He really is. This is absolute lunacy. Re-signing Al Horford at 50 years old to a 2-year deal. It's lunacy, though. Absolute lunacy. What else is going on, man? Talked about Isaiah Stewart going to Memphis for 3 future seconds. I like that for the Memphis Grizzlies because it gives them that backup center that I said that they needed. I wasn't so sure about the Lopez pickup, though. That was a little weird to me. I just think that he and Boozer are pretty much the same body. Definitely not the same player, but it's kind of like they play the same position, same height, same weight, same like. The redundancy didn't bother me when Chicago did it because I feel like you're adding athleticism that flies all over the place. So if you have to keep getting the same player, I'd want it to be players that are fantastic to watch flying around in Chicago. Because at the end of the day, you got Josh Giddey, this fantastic facilitating player. You say you want run-jump players. You bring yourself run-jump players. So I didn't hate what they did as much as most people did in Chicago. With the redundancy of taking Dalen Swain and Wilson, because I just think they're going to be fun to watch. You talk about flying all over the place. I want to see that. You can give me 100 of those guys on the same team. They're switchable. They can all play multiple positions. They all complement one another defensively. That's not, in theory, going to be a problem. When you bring yourself under athletic, too slow to play the small forward, power forwards, they both not overly athletic. They both kind of slow of foot to play the 3. Now it's like that's a redundancy that doesn't work for me. So that's the difference between the redundancy of what Chicago did versus the redundancy of what Memphis did. I don't think Boozer needed 2 Boozers. I don't think, especially when you have so many other needs for your rebuild. So I didn't love what Memphis did as much as most people did. But I think Lopez in a situation where he is able to play the forward without too much struggle is great. If you're going to draft Boozer and then draft a high-level backup for Boozer, that seems like a reasonable request to have, but you don't want to use 2 first-round picks on that in the same year. So I think it's one of those situations where somebody in that front office had a preference for that archetype and brought it to them twice without really considering that they have other needs that probably could be met with that same draft pick. Lopez, you can find another Lopez. You know what I'm saying? Just to be completely honest with you, he's not some unique, super unique player. You can find another Lopez. You need to put the stuff around Boozer that ultimately complements him on the floor, not necessarily drafting him some super high-level backup to himself. So it's not what I would have did, man. Not what I would have did with my 2 first-round picks. So, yeah, man, that's what I wanted to say. What else is going on? We saw the second round last night. I thought it was weird. Some of the stuff that I saw in that second round was nothing like what I agreed with. I'm very happy with my Lakers taking care of business on the undrafted market. I understand that we picked up 2 more players. I don't know who those guys are. One guy that looked kind of strange to me with some glasses or something. He won Player of the Year in the Big Ten or something. Not Big Ten, but in his conference, or I don't know. So we'll learn about those players and welcome them into our situation as Laker fans. But I'm just happy we got William Ryan III, or William Kyle III, excuse me. I'm super happy about him being a Laker, and of course Cam Carr being a Laker as well is just music to my ears. But we don't have a center that we trust, and that is real problematic to me. So I've been thinking about other center solutions, what the Lakers could possibly do. Oklahoma City is probably not inclined to help the Lakers do jack, but they do have an abundance of centers at this point. I would be calling for either Hartenstein or Sorber. Getting Sorber for the Lakers would be a home run. I don't know how the hell you get him, but that would be an option because they do have an abundance of centers. If they're going to keep Hartenstein, they're going to keep Holmgren, they're going to keep Mara. Where does Sorber get his opportunity? Well, the answer is in Los Angeles with us. We need him. So, if Rob Pelinka, it's going to be hard to get Oklahoma City to do anything that's favorable to anyone else, and that's perfectly what it should be. But I think that they have an opening with one of their centers, and while people are trying to get Hartenstein, I think Sorber may be somebody they actually be willing to part with, because he really doesn't have a path. He's coming off of the injury. They got Mara. They're probably going to want to keep Hartenstein. Where does Sorber actually play? He's just going to be sitting on the back of that bench gathering dust. He can do real work here. We need what he is right now. So if you can find a way to make that happen, I think that would be something that Laker fans would be very pleased with. I don't see why the Oklahoma City Thunder wouldn't be fielding calls for at least one of the damn centers. They don't need them all. They don't have the space for them. And one of the reasons why I'm not upset at all at the San Antonio Spurs for taking Quaintance and taking the other guy that they took from UConn is because Quaintance is likely going to have to redshirt for a year. So it's not the same situation when you got Sorber now healthy, Mara ready to be a starter somewhere, and then Hartenstein and Holmgren out there. They still got Jay Will, who's kind of not really a center, but he's played some of that 4 spot. So that rotation at front court, it's a lot of depth, but it's also a lot of guys just sitting around waiting for opportunities. Sorber needs to be playing somewhere, man. Now that he's healthy, he's a rookie who hasn't even gotten a chance to play his first real NBA basketball game. That would be an excellent asset for a team that needs a center, man. So I don't know if it's the Lakers who are going to go get Sorber. I don't know if OKC would be open to moving Sorber. Maybe they want to see what happens with Hartenstein first, of course, but they really do have Mara in place. And Sorber is a little too high of a level drafted guard to be a third string for the rest of his career. That's too much to ask of a guy who had to sit all over his entire rookie season for an injury. He should be ready to at least get some backup minutes, and I don't think they're going to be available in Oklahoma. So I understand that they could be potentially moving on from Sorber, and this is why I bring this to you guys. I heard somebody say they may have to move on from him. They may have to move on from the other rookie that had cancer a couple of years ago, since got back on the court, that they drafted 3rd overall. They're probably going to have to move that player as well. They drafted Sturts, excuse me. They drafted Mara. Those guys need to be in place with the backup minutes provided to their positions respectively. So you could see Oklahoma's moving off of somebody, and nobody needs a center more than the Los Angeles Lakers right now. Nobody. There's not a team in this league that I can think of more pressing for Thomas Sorber than the Los Angeles Lakers. So I just want to put that out there, man. We did not address our center position in a responsible way. We did get old homeboy with the glasses, but he's, who knows if he makes the team? Who knows how good he is? Who knows how much he can handle it? I don't know. Who knows? But we need to invest in that position with some urgency right now. And all this talk about trading LeBron James for Allen, that's just another thing I wanted to mention. I didn't agree with that. I'm not up for trading LeBron James because whatever people offer me for LeBron James ain't equal to LeBron James. Now, if you want to give me a first-round pick and Jared Allen, maybe we can start talking about how we can sweeten the deal to make it make sense to me. But what I'm going to ask for LeBron James, he's not worth. And what you're going to ask to give me for LeBron James, he's worth more than. And that's the problem with trading LeBron James. So I'm not open to it. I'm open to re-signing LeBron James. Now, if he just say he want to bounce, yeah, let's do a sign and trade. But if he say he wants to stay and we're shopping him because we didn't address our center position, that is not the answer. You're going to have a lot more problems if you let LeBron James walk and you bring back a Jared Allen. Your team ain't going to be that good. We talk about what Minnesota just did. You let LeBron James bounce and you think you bringing back some type of center, some run jump center. Believe me when I tell you, you're gonna win games in the regular season. You're gonna be out of here in the first round. So I don't think we have a path to being even remotely contenderish if we move LeBron James for really pretty much anything someone's gonna be willing to give us. And so that's really my take on that. I'm not open to moving LeBron James at all because there's no real return on value for a guy that's only expected to play one more year. But if you're going to contend that year, you better have him. So that's my thing. I know they probably, if he wants to go to Detroit, we're going to try to snatch Duran in his stead. If he wants to go to Cleveland, we're going to try to snatch Allen in his stead. That doesn't seem even reasonable to me. I don't even believe those rumors. It's not something I'd be open to if I'm the Lakers. I need LeBron James on this team if we're going to try to be contending this year. Just like I need a center, I also need the king. If I'm going to move one and lose the other or go without one, either way, I'm not contending. So why the hell am I doing that? Unless you can make it make sense. Like I said, I'm open to taking draft picks. If you want to start moving LeBron James, I don't care how old he is. I need draft picks. I need some sort of swaps first and player. And so if we're not holding his value to that height on a sign and trade, then he'll be signing with us, and we'll hold on to him. We'll retire him here like we plan on it. But I personally not open to trading him for some run, jump, dunk center. That's just stupid to me. I'm not even open to that. So I just want to put that out there. That's not reasonable to me. LeBron James is still too great, too effective in multiple areas, too well put together to put pressure on the rim and all this different stuff. I'm not picking him up for some center. You know what I mean? It's going to block a couple shots, pull a couple boards down, dunk the ball, not stretch the floor, probably be out for 30 games. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So they can get that out their mind. If anybody's listening to me in Lakerland, don't even consider that. Don't entertain that nonsense. There are other ways to get a center, and we need to find a way to do that. If you want to do that with Rui, that makes sense. You can do that with Rui, but not with Brown. Hell no. But for me, honestly, I'm holding on to Rui too, man. I'm holding on to my efficient shooters. I'm not moving Rui either. I'm signing him back to a deal that's comfortable for me. I don't want to overpay for Rui, but if I can get him on a deal that's similar to the one he was on or something a little less, that would be great for the Lakers. I'm pretty certain he wants to come back and play with this team, so it ain't too much to think about. We have a more capable piece now in Cam Carr that should give Rui spells so that he don't have to play the three as much. And look, there are some players on our team that ain't worth much. Jake LaRavia, I'm moving. I had enough. One season of Jake was enough for me. We can move him. Jared Vanderbilt, same thing. I like Ben Cheese, but I don't think they're any good. I don't think they're any good for us at this point. So just on the Lakers side of things, if we can get some of this trash out of here, I'm open to keeping Dalton Connect because I don't think he's worth nothing. I think he's worth more in our uniform than he is in trade market right now. An athletic shooter, yeah, that complements our team going forward. What, is he gonna get worse? Do I care? If you just say he's eating up a roster spot and you think you're gonna have to waive him, he's too talented to waive. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to with Dalton Connect. If you want to use him as a throw-in to get rid of Vanderbilt's contract, I'm open to it. But I like the idea that he's really athletic. I love the idea that at any given moment, if he ever does find some confidence, he's extremely capable of hitting a lot of shots and being a scoring weapon. I just don't think he's worth much right now in the trade market at all. Dirt value. And I just don't see a reason to move him. I mean, unless I just have to have the roster spot. But as far as I can tell, the best case scenario with Dalton Connect is that his value improves this season. Worst case scenario with Dalton Connect is he stays the same player he is, and he's an athletic guy to run in bench in garbage time situations like he's always been. I don't have a problem with that. If Dalton Connect doesn't get better, I don't have a problem with that because he's still young enough and athletic enough to put on a basketball floor in garbage time situations and be fun enough to watch. So it's like, for me, I don't see any harm in holding on to Dalton. I really don't. But Jake LaRavia, non-shooters that profile as defensive players, Jake was just so, I mean, he was so all over the place. I'm cool, bro. I'm super cool. I liked him as a banshee. There were nights where he was really good. But I felt like my team was really bad with him on the floor in the playoffs. Like devastatingly bad. So I'm about ready to move on from him. But the problem is people don't want this garbage. Like, if you got garbage, people don't want it. Just like you don't want it. Why would anyone else want it if you don't want it? So, Vanderbilt's on this contract that we should have never gave him. Making what, $17 a year or something like that? Ain't nobody gonna want that. Nobody in their right mind should want that. So yeah, man, I just, at this point, it's like I really want the trash gone. The dead weight on my roster, I would love to see gone. There's like 3 or 4 dead weight players that need to be the hell up out of here. Nick Smith is not one of them, though. If we exercise our option on Nick Smith, I don't know if they've done it or not, but I'm open to him playing. But I would like to see him in the summer league. I still think there's a career ahead for Nick Smith. I still think he showed enough to me that he's still getting better. At very least, he can be a microwave scorer someday if he just gets consistent minutes on a team. He's already proven that he can be assistance to somebody. So, ball handlers, you know what I mean? I think he's a nice baller, man. I love the idea of Nick Smith on this team. Don't have a problem with keeping him. So, that's really what it is for me. The young guys, Dalton Connect, although he's not that young, but Dalton Connect, athletic, shooting, scorer, efficient athlete. Yeah, I'm holding on to him. Not great defensively at all, but I'm holding on to him for no other reason than I'm happy with him as my 12th man. Nick Smith, 11th man. But Jake, Vando, the non-shooter, this profiles as the defender that runs around. I like that piece. I need that piece, but I want those pieces to be different people, better players. This is what it is, man. I'm over the non-shooter, defender prototype. Y'all know that. But I do think they're important in doing dirty work on a team like this. So, I don't know. What are we doing? That's the question. How can I get myself a center? How can I get a Thomas Sorber or somebody like that on the basketball team, man? How can I get that piece? That's the question. That's the equation for Rob Pelinka. How can you get the center? And look, we're going to find out that some of these guys on the two ways that we're going to have this year, we're going to really like, man. William, you're going to definitely want on the roster. He's on an Exhibit 10 contract. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the regular roster before the end of the year. What he does is exactly what we need, exactly what we want. And even though he's undersized for it, when you talk about trying to go after a Zuby Ejiofor, or you try to go after a Morez Johnson, that's basically what William Kyle is, just a lesser level, but more explosive athlete. So, you want that piece. Undersized, super wingy, high fly act, shot blocking, rebounding, dunker. Yeah, hell yeah, give me as many of those as we can fit on the damn roster. Adu Thero takes a bigger step forward. That's where, between Cam Carr and Adu Thero taking steps forward, in theory, hopefully coach will be willing to play both of them this season, we can have Vando and Jake LaRavia take steps back or get off of our team. Straight up. If you're going to put those guys, those two talented super leapers, in the roles that those guys were playing, then you can see a world where your team doesn't suck as bad as it did last year. Luke Kennard's interesting. I would love to bring him back, but not at an overpriced amount. We'll see what the market says about him. Rui, I'd love to bring back. Efficient players. I think Rui's role is going to make more sense on this roster this year, especially if we utilize Thero and Vando properly. Thero and Card properly. Rui's can fit on this roster a lot better. That's really what it is, man. I don't mind Ayton coming back so long as he's not my starter, or so long as we have somebody like Sorber behind him who's destined to take that starting spot. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, when I start canvassing the league for what my answer is at the center position, I can't help but look at backup centers in situations that maybe they're ready to spread out from. So, like I say, trying to get OKC to do anything to help the Lakers is probably not possible, but it would definitely be something I'd be trying to do. I'd be trying my best. I would be trying my best, especially if they're able to retain Hartenstein, man. Kicking the can on a draft sheet, or what do you call it, an offer sheet for Duran and Kessler is definitely a worthy thing. I think they both get matched, though. I think they both get matched. Detroit probably gonna match that. Whatever you give them, Kessler, yeah, whatever you give them, probably getting matched. Hartenstein, if he's not a free agent, unrestricted free agent, I'd imagine Thunder are gonna try to keep him too, and let Mara kind of play the backup role in the short term. I don't expect that deal to be too long, though. When you draft Mara, it's not like you expect Hartenstein to get some 4-year deal for whatever that's worth. I don't expect that they will give him much longer deal. So maybe if you're the Lakers, that's the key. When you're talking about Hartenstein and trying to pry him away from the Thunder, it's in the years. Because if you're the Thunder, you don't want Hartenstein to be getting paid some absorbent amount for no 5 years. Not with Mara and Sorba behind him. No way. So that would be the thing. If they offer him a 3-year deal, you offer him a 4-year deal. That's how you try to put a little pressure on the Thunder for Hartenstein, for whatever it's worth. So that's really what it is, man. I know we need a center bad as hell, and I wanted to put that in this video. But yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say, man. That Timberwolves trade is ridiculous. The Hornets won that by a country mile, and that's pretty much all I gotta say. My name is BDO44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.